Hey, and welcome to the channel. Tonight I'm going to be speaking about something that really touches my heart deeply, and one of the things that I'm very passionate about for the last at least 8 years of my life and still going, and that is polarity. But in more specifically, I want to focus on polarity between masculine and feminine, how it comes into play in relationships, and how do we really balance it out, because there are different approaches out there, and I want to share my perspective about that, on how do these actually in the end are very similar. So let me first start by saying that most of my knowledge comes from David Data, so please go watch him because he's the father of all of it, as far as I know, that brought it to the Western mind. And I just lately I started seeing a girl, and she learned polarity from a different guy called Zach Cody, I think, in Australia. And we started to have these interesting conversations about what it means to actually be masculine and feminine. How would we take these roles on interaction? And yeah, what does this actually mean in the end? So let me first introduce you just a bit of a background. I'm not going to go too much in depth to it because this can be a very long talk. But the information is that there are masculine and feminine energies. And we as humans have, as me, I have both masculine and feminine energy, and women have both masculine and feminine energy. We all have our sexual essence, as David Data pointed. That is where we usually end up being. So me, I'm personally more in the masculine side of the scale, and usually the women I date are just exactly on the opposite side in the feminine scale. So these are called reciprocals, which is why we attract each other, because we are right on the scale. Now it could be also be that a guy is very much into his feminine, and the girl is more in the masculine role, that she's working, taking care of things, she has appointments, she has integrity, she's on time, she has a vision, she has a mission. And the guy is more flowy, he's being taken care of, he doesn't make decisions, he's this sensitive, soft, spiritual guy, I would say, very generalizing, right? And this might look odd to you, but for them, they're reciprocating each other, therefore the relationship is able to function and work. That is in the ground basic to set the foundation of what I'm going to be talking about next. So if we take off from here, that we have masculine and feminine views, between an interaction you can see this polarity at play, right? So I would say a typical feminine thing is to surrender and be open and breathe and relax and be in the flow. And the guy is more in the leading. He's kind of setting the tone. And I personally believe in David Data was saying that although we have our sexual essence, we can switch around and change them around. So I could technically become more feminine and let the woman take the lead and take the role, right? Which is possible. It actually is. I've experienced it myself. But the reason that I'm making this video now is because this girl, she changed my mind a little bit. And I'm happy that she did, because this did give an extra light on something that I thought that I had a very good grip on, but I like to see it from the different perspective. So what she told me was, I only want to be feminine from now on. And for me, that was a little bit triggering, because knowing the information that I know that actually it's nice to be able to switch around these polarities at certain times. Most of the time I will be in the masculine, but I also really love to surrender, right? So this whole thing was really touching for me. So I started to ask her a little bit more questions to really understand, where is she coming from? What does that mean for her? Because you can relate to that as a guy when it feels that you are in this certain box that they say you are masculine, that comes with responsibility. that you need to make decisions and you need to take care of things and you need to be strong and you need to be solid and so forth. So although it's nice for me to be there, I don't want to be forced to be there. So if my partner is telling me, I just want to be feminine all the time, sorry about that, for me, it would, so for me, that would be really putting a strain on me. So I asked a little bit. And what I understood is the following. I'm going to give a metaphor for dancing because I do dance a lot. I dance Brazilian zouk, that is a partner dance. And I feel like partner dance is where you can really see polarity at play. It's really the masculine and feminine energies. And when I dance, I actually like to open the space for the feminine to lead me. I enjoy that a lot. I like to be led. But what I thought is that I'm basically, in this situation, becoming more feminine and I'm letting her lead, right? Which, in a way, that is correct. It's kind of what is happening. But I was brought to awareness that I am the one that is allowing the situation. So in a way, I am leading this situation to be the certain way that it is. So if I take this analogy to the bedroom, I can say I personally also like to surrender, but then it is I am the one that sets the tone for surrender, if that makes sense to you. And then I can do it. Because if the feminine is just taking charge and without me kind of allowing it, it becomes a power conflict. And when the power conflict starts, a lot of attraction goes away because we are fundamentally going out of our sexual essences. So we're no longer reciprocating each other. And a guy might feel lack of self-confidence, lack of trust, that the woman doesn't trust him. And for the women, it brings a lot of rigidity in the body. This sort of conflict. I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on being right for those sort of interactions. And I personally experienced that myself in my previous relationship, and I know that it is not a very pleasant experience at all. But it is important to learn from it. So the concept of understanding, to conclude this specific point, is that even if I am being led, if the situation feels right, it is most likely because I created the opportunity to be led. I let the opportunity for her to take control. And in a way, I'm still kind of in the lead. And that is a very important emphasis, actually, because it is not, for me, it was a mind breaker or something like that. And I want to also give another interesting analogy to the bedroom. So I find personally that when the woman also takes control, she takes charge, I find it sexy. When she knows what she wants and she's going for it and she's taking. I don't know if you are familiar with the concept of will of consent, but I'm using a lot of words from the will of consent, which, if you don't know it, I will make a video about it as well, to just explain this fundamental tool that helps really see situations in a very clear framework. So the woman is taking is very sexy. And in fact, not a lot of women can actually do that at all. I know a lot of women that can't take, and they're mostly there for the guys. And so more like surrendering, giving, allowing. And of course, for the men, we usually have the different issue, but especially also today, a lot of guys have issue taking. But the point being is that I associated that with a transition to the masculine and feminine side. So the guy is becoming feminine while the woman is taking. Which could be seen in this narrative. It could be. But I was brought to awareness that that is actually not the only way to see it. Polarity is just a sort of framework that you can interpret reality from. You know what I mean? There's also Freud's inner father, inner mother, inner child, I believe. And this is also a way to look at this situation. So I might want to be taken as a child. There's a very different sexual dynamic, of course. But you could still see the same situation and put the masculine and feminine frame on it. But the question is, which one fits the most? And for me, it's the sum of it all, as far as all of the frames that I personally know of. So there are, as far as I believe, within the masculine and the feminine scale of sexual polarity, there are dark and light sides. So the light side of the feminine, for example, will be this very, I would say, Christian girl, a good girl. She's very soft, she's very surrendering, she's very mild, open, white. Imagine this white energy, relaxing softness, and just this good girl. And the dark side of the feminine is this bad girl with black things in the club that's gonna scratch you and like ride on you. And it's a girl that can take. So the difference can also be shown in that the white side is better at allowing and the darkest side is actually better at taking. But that is not only that narrates it for a very specific thing, but it is way more than that. And it's just important for me to also emphasize that white does not mean good and black does not mean bad. But these are both sort of scale of energies that we have living within us. And in this society that we live nowadays, especially, the dark side is very repressed. It's not okay to be mad, it's not okay to scream, it's not okay to express yourself in a very brutal and honest way. And we always are empowered to be more white, such as nonviolent communication. And I'm not trying to, I love nonviolent communication and I absolutely use it all the time. But it is good to know that in certain places, interactions that we have with each other, we allow ourselves to float to either side of the scale. And usually, a lot of repressed things tend to come up in good intimacy. And the way in which we can start to embrace that is via intimacy as well. For me, I am a very light person when it comes to intimacy. And I'm in the process of discovering my dark side all the time. I'm not so good at it yet, but I noticed that the dark energy is where you get a lot of strength from. It's very powerful, it's very potent, and even scary, because you don't know you there. So it's a little bit scary to go there because the ego doesn't even know what to expect. For someone like me, somebody that grew up in a place where it's not okay to just hit each other, because some places it's way more acceptable to be that angry and just hit each other and then they're friends again. So, but I come from a very Western place, and that is just not the case. We don't do that here. So I want to experience that and explore that as well, because a lot of energy comes from there, and the woman as well. So when we allow ourselves to play around with these energies, it makes the interaction so playful. And it also removes a layer of judgment upon it, because if I believe that it's not good to be in masculine and feminine, and I do it, then of course I'm going to know that I'm doing something wrong. But when there's different frameworks, I can see it from a different angle, and I'm like, yeah, this actually, it's so fine. It's actually so good. And you can experience that. Dark energy and light energy in the bedroom, play with those polarities. For girls, there's so much teachings diving into that energy. It makes them so sexy. And with the right man that is able to really hold space for them and know how to invite this for them. So create the container, which is why I was talking about dancing earlier. So you create the container for her to express this side of her. But you have to stay in integrity. You have to be really there. You have to be strong in that way, because if she noticed that you will start to flinch or judge her, she will close away. So there's a lot, it's very intimate, actually, this act, and it requires a lot of trust and vulnerability. But it's so powerful, and it is so sexy. If you get to experience your woman in this powerful potential, it's just so good. I can't describe it in any other way. And for the woman, it's just a healing process. She can cry, she can release, she can just realize how repressed she might have been in her life. And that is really powerful. And intimacy for me is built out of vulnerability. Therefore, playing with such tools that expose ourselves into places that we're not comfortable being, it's new for us, for both of us, is the pinnacle of intimacy. Because we're here to learn, we're here to grow. We're not here to just only have fun and go to sleep. At least that is not my personal objective. My relationships, although they're fun, they're growing me all the time, and I try my best to take good lessons from them, I would say. So, I want to conclude, to summarize everything that I've just talked about. There are various frameworks in ways that you can decide to interpret reality. One of them is masculine and feminine. One of them is light and dark masculine. There's infinite ways that you can interpret reality. But in these two, these are the ones where I'm focusing on. And I invite you to play around and connect with them and see what it brings. Talk about it with your partner, perhaps, if that's something that you usually do. I do that. I like it a lot to talk about that and see how they react to it. Are they open for it? And jump into the mystery to see. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see. And if we don't like it, then we can always revert back. So play around with those polarities. Talk about it. Know that they are there. Know that they exist. Know that they're powerful and impactful. And there's so much energy in the dark side. I invite you to access it. Find a partner, or you can also do it yourself, actually. But in this specific place, I'm talking about a partner. And do it. And let me know how it goes.